I'm Rob Flatt. Thank you for tuning in to this year's Homeschool Basketball Nationals Field of 64 Varsity Boys Selection Show. We're going to talk about the Field of 64 Goal Ball Showdown Series format, but before I do, I just want to give a little back history. This is the 26th Annual National Championships. First year the national tournament was in San Antonio, Texas. My first year as a player was in Estes Park, Colorado, 21 years ago. And let me just say that the Varsity Boys Field and the national championships have changed so much over the last 20 years since I've been involved. I can remember actually playing in San Antonio in a national championship game at a multi-court facility with about 500 fans watching the game. And today's homeschool basketball looks completely different. At nationals, a lot of these teams are coming in and they get an opportunity to play in front of thousands of people on multiple different occasions. And so that's one thing that's really exciting. And of course, the Field of 64 format that we use is a big part of the success that we've seen at the national championships. So when we're looking at this format, let me just first say that you've got 64 teams that are going to come into the national championships. 32 are going to lose on Monday in the opening round. But the good news is the 32 teams that do lose, the Division II championship is amazing. It's an amazing thing. There's 32 teams that all lost on Monday that start over fresh on Tuesday. And that is one of the aspects with the national championships that is great. Yes, you want to win. Yes, the goal is to win a gold ball or an undisputed national championship. But let's face it, half the teams come in and they lose their first game. And our tournament isn't built just for the teams that win it all. There's something to play for throughout the whole tournament. So then you've got 32 teams that lose in the opening round. 32 teams then move into the Tuesday's class semifinals, and they will play on the showcase/live stream court on Tuesday. Right now, that's Hillcrest and Baptist Bible College will be the two showcase courts, and all those games, all 16 of those games featuring those 32 teams will be featured on live stream. Once we get to Tuesday, we'll have 16 teams that lose in their class semifinals. Those teams are going to move into the bronze ball bracket. The bronze ball bracket's fantastic, and there's an opportunity for the teams that are in that to go and still win out starting on Wednesday and win their bracket and win a bronze ball. The 16 teams that win on Tuesday advance into Wednesday's Gold Ball Championship game, which this year we're excited to announce is going to be at Drury's O'Reilly Center, beautiful 3,000 court facility that we anticipate will pack out Wednesday night. And that's just going to be a great opportunity. Of course, those will be live streamed. That's going to be on a showcase court. But what's really cool is all 8 of those games featuring those 16 teams for those gold ball games will be on that court that day. So it would be a great place for teams to be able to come and watch. And if you're in those games, it's a fantastic opportunity to be able to watch some of the best teams in the nation all playing on that court that day. Or I should say all the best teams in the nation playing on that court that day. So once you win a gold ball, for the teams that do win a gold ball, they will be awarded their gold ball immediately following their win, and they will advance to the Gold Ball Showdown Series. The teams that lose in their opening round or lose in their gold ball match or game will move to the Silver Ball Showdown Series, and they will be awarded a silver ball on Friday at the award ceremony. And we will also have a Silver Ball Showdown Series that will be played out starting on Thursday. So that will be a great opportunity for those teams, and we have a banner for the Silver Ball Showdown Series champion. For the teams that win their gold ball, when they get to Thursday, we will have the quarterfinals and the semifinals for the teams that win in their quarterfinal match. So the teams that make the National Final Four will come back and play Thursday night. Any of you that were at the gym last year at Hillcrest that saw the Nashville versus Aggieland triple overtime thriller in front of thousands of fans with great student sections on both sides know what that game's all about. And if they stuck around for the next game between Oklahoma City Storm and Neway, they got a chance to see a 14-point lead erased, and Neway missed a shot that could have won the game in the final seconds. So we know that what those games are capable of. The teams that win both Thursday's quarterfinal and semifinals in the Gold Ball Showdown Series will then advance to the Undisputed National Championship game, where they'll fight for the right to take home the Undisputed National Championship banner. And so that is the format. As you can see, whether you lose or you win, this tournament is built for everyone. And what's great is 64 teams are in this. But there's nearly 100 varsity boys teams. Every year we get a little bit closer to that mark of 100 varsity boys teams in this tournament. And so that's just fantastic. to see the growth, and we're really excited about it. So now that we've covered kind of how that format works, let's take a look at the classifications. And you'll notice on the classifications on this slide, we're going to break down what the curve was this year. And you'll see here that the programs were divided into 4 classification groupings, and those were based on the size of the program. So Class 8A and 7A, they have 50-plus boys, and that number is, in their program, that number is based on players 11 and up who actually played in a game for them during the 2016 and 17 season. Simply put, Class 8A and 7A, that's the largest programs in homeschool basketball. Class 6A and 5A has 40 to 49 boys. Class 4A to 3A, 28 to 39 boys. Class 2A to A, 27 and under boys. So what happens is you get these the classifications, and then the next step is that each classification grouping has 16 teams that are seeded into 2 different classes. And of course, we just talked about those. It's 8A, 7A, 6A, 5A, etc. So that's kind of how the programs are divided. First, it's by program size, but then there's also that sense of the balance. You don't want the best 2 teams in the same class playing on Wednesday. And so this allows for the Gold Ball Showdown Series to still have a balance and allows us to keep with our tradition of 26 years of crowning the undisputed homeschool basketball national champion, but also allows for there to be an opportunity for the best 2 teams, regardless of how their size, have the opportunity to make it to the finals. And in this case, this year, we'll get to the seeds, but Class 8A and Class 7A feature the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation entering the tournament. So let's take a look at the number 1 seeds. When we flip over here, we'll see the favorites to win and advance to the Gold Ball Showdown Series quarterfinals. And you'll notice that the teams are listed in the order that their class will be seeded into the Gold Ball Showdown Series. So Class 8A, the NCC Warriors, the defending undisputed national champion, returning 11 seniors from a team that won it all last year. They're the number 1 overall seed in the Gold Ball Showdown Series. They're number 1 in Class 8A, and whoever wins Class 8A will take that number 1 seed. Their possible matchup, if everything goes according to plan, which the bottom line is it's a national tournament in March, there's always upsets. But if it goes as planned, the Fort Smith Patriots out of Class A would be the favorite to make that Gold Ball Showdown Series game. Fort Smith finished as runner-up in the South Central, and the NCC finished as the Midwest champion this year at regionals. In Class 7A, the Oklahoma City Storm are the favorite to win, and if they were to advance, they would have a rematch with the New Way Eagles from last year's Nationals Final Four. And so that if the teams were to win, that's what the favorites are. In Class 6A, Aggieland, another team from last year's National Final Four and the Big South champion. Oklahoma City, by the way, was the Heartland champion this year. The Aggieland Panthers won a thriller out in the Big South, and if they were to win their Class 6A, they will face the Class 3A champion, which looks like, at this point, the favorite, Green Country Defenders out of Tulsa, and that is your South Central champion this year. The Class 4A number 1 seed is the Dallas Thunder, and they are the Big South runner-up this year. They've had an outstanding season. They entered the Big South tournament as the number 1 seed and lost a thriller to the Aggieland Panthers. And the number 1 seed in Class 5A is the Indianapolis Wildcats, who finished 3rd out in the Midwest. And so that's the potential matchups. Of course, there's always upsets and there's always that, but this is what it would be if the favorites were to win. Let's take a look at the number 2 seeds, what I would consider the top contenders in each class. In Class 8A, you have the Little Rock Flames. They finished 4th in the South Central Regional. In Class 7A, you have the Dallas HSAA Angels, who finished 3rd in the Big South Championships, and they made quite a statement in their lopsided victory over the New Way Eagles in that 3rd place game. So that should be it should be very interesting to see how Dallas HSAA does as a number 2 seed there in Class 7A. Class 6A's number 2 seed is the Chap Chariots out of Lansing, Michigan, who have finished in the Final Four of the Midwest back-to-back years, and we're thrilled to have the Chap Chariots at Nationals this year. They weren't able to make the trip last year, so it's great seeing them, and looks like they've earned a very high seed coming into Nationals, so it will be a lot of fun to watch them play. In Class 5A, the Illinois Crusaders, who actually finished in as Midwest runner-up, knocking off the Indianapolis Wildcats, they're the number 2 seed, and they're the top contender there. And the bottom line is them and the Indy Wildcats, if both teams are able to make their Gold Ball Championship game, should be a thrilling game. They've played each other 3 times, and The Wildcats have got the advantage in that, but Illinois has won most recently. So Class 4A, the number 2 seed is Kansas City East Lions, and they're in the Dallas Thunder class there as far as who the favorites are. And so that should be very interesting. Kansas City East last year won a gold ball and made it into the gold ball showdown series and had a thrilling game, and eventually lost by, I think, 5 points to Nashville in the gold ball showdown series quarterfinals before Nashville went on to win the title. So that should be very interesting. Kansas City East finished, I believe, in 4th place in the Heartland. Class 3A, the Kansas City Metro Mavericks, as a top contender, I think that it's safe to say that they're certainly a team to watch. They took the Oklahoma City Storm to overtime in the Heartland region, finished as runner-up. And I think they're a type of team that definitely is one to watch. Green Country, with the win out in the South Central, definitely the favorite, but I think that Metro plays that underdog role very well, and it should be a lot of fun to see how that works. In Class 2A, the HFC Warriors, a first-year program out of Oklahoma City, they've earned the number 2 seed and had a strong regional finish out in the Heartland, and they're in the same class with New Way, so that should be an interesting potential matchup if those teams are able to get there. And of course, Class A, the Wichita Defenders, I believe they finished 5th place in the Heartland, had a strong showing, and they put themselves in a position where they are a strong contender for a gold ball this year. Okay, we're gonna keep moving along, and we're gonna take a look at the number 3 and the number 4 seeds. And this group right here, the 3 and the 4 seeds. I'm considering them the dark horses in each class. You've got Class 8A, you have San Antonio Feast and St. Louis Blue Knights, or your 3 and your 4 seeds. In Class 7A, Tulsa Noah and Lake Houston. Once you start getting in Class 6A, you start looking at Northwest Indy and Dallas Dash. Those teams as dark horses, that's scary. And the same even for in Class 5A with Northwest Arkansas Hornets and Memphis Nighthawks. I think that shows the depth of Class 6A and 5A. Those teams right there, both those 4 that I just mentioned, probably be favorites in, or at least top contenders in many of the classes. It's going to be fantastic watching Class 6A and 5A sort itself out with these type of dark horses in it. In Class 4A, a dark horse, CHSM, and then Hudsonville. The CHSM Crimson Knights, they made the undisputed national championship just 2 years ago and had a great run. Last year they finished as the Silver Ball Showdown Series champions. So in Class 4A, that's a really strong dark horse, and I think will be very interesting to see how that plays out. In Class 3A, you have a pair of Texas teams in the Lubbock Titans and Weatherford Express. Both of them finished right next to each other in the Big South Regional, finishing 6th and 7th. And CHSM finished 5th there. And so right there is kind of your 5th, 6th, and 7th place teams from the Big South. In Class 2A, your dark horses are Wright County and Quincy Saints. And both those teams have had tremendous success since we've moved to the Gold Ball Showdown Series format, dividing the programs by size. And those are scary dark horses in Class 2A. And then the Shreveport Force and North Metro Blazers out of Minnesota are the Class A dark horses at the 3 and 4 seeds. And so it's a tremendous balance, and I'm very interested to see how some of these classes play out. That some of the favorites are, the dark horses would be stunning if they were to pull off the upsets. And then in other classes, you look at it and say, well, it's very, very possible that we see some major upsets, and maybe even there's some teams that we're not mentioning here, and that leads me to the next slide here, the overlooked teams. Well, there's 32 teams that didn't get mentioned. So I'm just going to go ahead and say all of you are the overlooked and use that as bulletin board material. I know that some of the teams in the dark horses position will definitely do that, and you're encouraged to too. This is nationals. We expect everyone to show up and leave it out on the court and find whatever advantage they can. And if that means you're an overlooked team that's a dark horse or whatever it is, hopefully you guys are able to use that as motivation and come out. You never know what happens when you step on the court if you leave it all out there. So that's kind of the breakdown of before we get right into the actual seeding for these classifications, which we've been working directly with the coaches. So none of this should be shocking to a coach. And we're going to just move right into Class 8A. The boys 18 and under, field of 64. You'll see the champion of Class 8A assumes the number 1 overall seed in the Gold Ball Showdown Series. We've already kind of gone over that, so I won't be redundant with that. The Nashville Warriors, Little Rock Flames, Feast Patriots, St. Louis Blue Knights, we've covered all of those. And then you've got the Spirit Warriors out of California, Faith Falcons out of Michigan, and a pair of Team USAs that are going to be in this Class 8A. And it should be a lot of fun. And for the teams that are in this, there's a lot of opportunity to make that, to pick up a win and advance into that the gold ball class semifinals for Class 8A. And so that is Class 8A. Those are the seeds. And Class 7A, we're going to look at there, of course, Gold Ball Showdown Series number 2 overall seed for the champion of this class. We've gone over the top 4 teams, the favorite, the contender, the dark horses, and then you've got Nashville NCC White, CHSA Wolverines, and a pair of Team USA teams that are in this classification in Class 7A. For those of you not familiar with Team USA, if you haven't been to nationals before, Team USA is a group of players that have never played or practiced together in most cases, and they're playing on a team. Of course, when you're a coach, you're always nervous. What about the Team USA? The Team USA cannot advance into a gold ball class semifinals. So for you coaches out there that drew a Team USA, use that information however you'd like. But Team USA has been a big part of nationals for years. In fact, that was my family's first ever experience at the national championships. It's what got us to go out to Estes Park, Colorado, and once we had the experience, we were hooked. I haven't missed one for 21 straight years. So let's keep moving with Class 6A. And you'll see the champion of this class will be the number 3 overall seed in the Gold Ball Showdown Series. Again, we've gone over the favorite, contender, and dark horses. So let's take a look at number 5, one of the overlooked teams, the HSRC Patriots out of Illinois. They're definitely the type of team that you can't afford to overlook. They've had some success this year. They've taken teams like the Illinois Crusaders, the number 2 seed in 5A and Midwest runner-up. They've taken them to overtime. There's nothing easy about some of those teams out in the Midwest, even if they struggled at that region. It's a deep region. Of course, Dash Spartans, I didn't talk much about them in the dark horses, but they finished 7th in the Big South. But they're a really exciting team, and they could score a lot of points. So there's a lot of interesting storylines that could play out there, but that should be a great matchup in the opening round between HSRC and Dash. Definitely one that I'll be watching to keeping an eye on. And then you've got Manhattan Chief as an at-large. It's been 5 years since the Chief have been to nationals, so we're thrilled to have them back. And then the Cincinnati Trailblazers are coming in at the 7th seed there. And overall, it's just a very deep field in here in Class 6A. And we're going to take a look at Class 5A. The champion of this class will be the number 5 seed in the Gold Ball Showdown Series. Again, we've talked about the favorites, the contender, the dark horses. But another interesting matchup that I think highlights the depth of this region is MHEA versus Memphis Nighthawks. These are a pair of Memphis teams. They haven't played each other during the year, and the results have been very interesting. MHEA owns a win against Northwest Arkansas, and the Northwest Arkansas owns a pair of wins against the Nighthawks. The Nighthawks finished at 3rd place in the South Central, MHEA 5th place in the South Central, and certainly an intriguing opening round matchup there. And the CEC Cougars out of Kentucky almost shocked the Indianapolis Wildcats in the Midwest region. I think it was a 4-point game late in the 4th quarter there. So as a 6th seed, that's a scary 6th seed. I'm sure Northwest Arkansas is making a note of that right now. And so I think that's really what highlights some of this depth. And Thesa Riders at 7. Thesa always matches up well against Midwest teams. Their style of play, they come out and they play hard, and so that's another intriguing matchup. And so again, the Class 5A, the depth of this field is really spotlighted in these situations. So we're going to keep moving along and look at Class 4A. Champion of this class, the number 4 seed in the Gold Ball Showdown Series. You got Dallas Thunder, Kansas City East, CHSM Hudsonville. We've kind of gone over all those teams. San Marcos Panthers. They're the type of team that always plays well against teams that haven't been to nationals in years. And the Hudsonville Hornets are in that spot. We're thrilled to have them at the varsity boys level, but it's been a while since their varsity boys have been competitive at the national championship. So that matchup right there, Hudsonville used a buzzer beater to win the silver championship in the Midwest. Heard it was a thrilling way for the Midwest tournament to wrap up, and so they're capable of winning close games. They got bounced in the gold silver play-in and then managed to win their next 3 games to win that silver bracket out in the Midwest. So Hudsonville and San Marcos will be a great test between the Midwest and the Big South. And then another one of those will be the CHSM Crimson Knights and Northside Lions. And again, the depth in even Class 4A here, as we're going through this, Oklahoma City Green Country Defenders, first-year program. They'll draw Kansas City East, and then you have the Lighthouse Eagles out of the Springfield area, and they'll be playing Dallas Thunder. And so just a very fun-looking class, and a hard one, too. If you're in it, you look at it, and you know you have a lot of work to do just to get to the goal ball game, let alone win it. So as we keep moving, Class 3A, you'll see the champion of Class 3A will be the 6th seed in the Goal Ball Showdown Series. We've talked about the favorites, the contenders, the dark horses here, and then you've got the Omaha Roadrunners, who we didn't mention earlier. That matchup with Weatherford is a great test of the Heartland and the Big South, and which region's stronger. Omaha's had success this year. They've played a really hard schedule against, as far as top-ranked homeschool teams, traveled a lot on the road, but they're still seeking that marquee win. And I'll tell you right now, they'd settle. They not settle. They would take that Weatherford win and be thrilled to take that and get into the class semifinals. But that Weatherford Express team, it's the best team the Express have had in years, maybe of all time. So that's going to be a great battle between those teams. And then you have the Lubbock Warriors, or the Lubbock Titans versus the Warriors for Christ out of St. John's, Michigan. And it's another Midwest versus Big South showdown that should be it's going to be a good test for both those teams. KC Metro will play the HCYA Warriors, which is actually a rematch of multiple goal ball games not too long in the last few years. I think Metro's, I think they've split with HCYA, but I could be misspeaking on that one, so I'll be careful with that. But I mean, that as a matchup is going to be very interesting. For those of you that think that maybe HCYA is a little low there, maybe you're remembering back to Justin Jackson not too long ago, the recent ACC Player of the Year for this season. And last year, Elijah Lee and Dan Rad Chicken Knowles at Houston. I mean, the list goes on. The Sanders kids at Liberty. The HCYA Warriors this year, though, they're in a rebuilding mode. They had one win during the regular season. And it's just not the same Warriors team as it's been in the past. But that being said, if you're Kansas City Metro and that's your first draw as a 2 seed, that's definitely an intriguing matchup. And so it will be very fun to watch that and see how that plays out. So we'll move on to the Class 2A. The winner of this class will take the 7 seed in the Gold Ball Showdown Series. We've gone over the top 4 seeds here. The Cornerstone Saints out of Topeka, Kansas, they aren't able to attend regionals, so they come in at a large. It's always hard to seed at large teams, and their first round matchup with the Quincy Saints would be a really good test for both teams to see if they are capable of winning a gold ball. If you can't get past that first round game, you can't win a gold ball. So that will be a great matchup. It should be on paper, that should be a lot of fun to watch. The Wright County Warriors and East Central Patriots. This is the first time we have ever had an Alabama team travel to nationals, and we're thrilled to have them. Them taking on the Wright County Warriors will be very interesting because Wright County's had tremendous success at the national tournament in these classifications, but this could be their best test they've had in an early round. And again, East Central is an at-large team. It's really hard when you're seeding at-large teams because you don't have the common opponents to look at and you don't have the regional results. And so that will be very interesting. HFC, first-year program that we mentioned earlier out of Oklahoma City, they will be playing CHA of Northeast Louisiana. And New Way Eagles will be playing Christian Life Eagles out of California. So this has got great flavor in this classification. It's this class and Class 2A are for the smallest programs. And so we see sometimes more states represented because a lot of times the larger programs come from the same areas. Where there's a heavy concentration of players, or the same cities even. So, and as we move on to this last one here, let's take a look at Class A. And the Class A champion will be the Gold Ball Showdown Series number 8 seed. We've talked plenty about the top 4 seeds here. So we'll take a look at Southwest Louisiana Knights. They struggled at the Big South, but that's a big region. It's one of those deals where it's hard to tell how good Southwest Louisiana is, and that matchup against North Metro provides a really good opportunity to kind of gauge and see where they're at this year. The Eastside Golden Eagles out of Indianapolis versus Shreveport Force is another great matchup because the Eastside is known for peaking at nationals. I mean, they find a way to peak at the national championships, and the upsets are something that they just do. And so that draw with Shreveport, I think last year Eastside knocked off PCA out of Louisiana as an underdog and took Aggieland, who was the number one seed in their class. They took them down to the wire, or at least competed with them really well. And so this is definitely a class that the Eastside definitely can wreak havoc in, especially out of that 6th seed. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that. And the Lakeshore Thunder out of the 7th seed, they're just a couple years removed from their trip to the National Final Four. And they'll be taking on the Wichita Defenders, and that should be a very good test for both teams. But again, there's a lot of depth in this class as well. And then Fort Smith Patriots opening round game will be against the Lebanon Rockets. And so we have some great matchups, as you can see. I think that what will end up happening is each day we'll see different teams stepping up and playing in big games. And I think that's one of the things with the national championships that we've, over the years, really been able to do is create situations where these players and coaches are getting a chance to play and coach in huge games. I was talking to a coach that competed a couple years after I had competed, and when we were talking, we both were saying, he came from the HCYA program, and we were both talking. He said, back in the day, the only teams that got to play in a big game were teams that had Oklahoma City, HCYA, or for a short time Feast on their chest. Those were the three programs on the boys' side that played in championship games for a major stretch. And over the years, that took a toll on teams because if they did for some reason pull off an upset and they met HCYA in the national championship, it was their program's first ever time to be in a big game. And oftentimes, that's not usually where kids are set up to succeed. And when you get into a position where these teams are playing, and some of these teams have the opportunity to be playing for their 4th straight gold ball, maybe they're not going to be a team that can win an undisputed national championship, but if they can play for 4 straight gold balls, there's something that happens with the players and the coaches that becomes familiar with success. And that's really been a big part of looking at these classifications and making the adjustment to going to the size of program like all high school state associations do. There's a reason they do it, and there is an advantage to have 50-plus boys opposed to some programs that only have 9 and are barely fielding a team, whereas the other ones have multiple 10 and under teams possibly. And so by making that by dividing it up and kind of going away from the NCAA March Madness format and going to a high school state association format, but also with the March Madness aspect of it, with a little bit of Hoosiers mixed in, it's just designed to give teams and players and coaches and programs the opportunity to taste success at the national level, because nothing is easy. There's nothing easy about nationals. You don't walk in, and I don't think anyone's looking at this, and we'll probably get a Twitter poll out here soon, but who's got the easiest road? What class do you wish you were in? That you're not larger than the other teams. Of course, everyone, if you're Class 8A, sure, you'd love to be in Class 2A because they're smaller programs, but we kind of have a deal that to win a gold ball, you got to pick on someone your own size. After you win a gold ball or after you get eliminated, then you mix in and you play the rest of the classifications. But to win a gold ball, you just have to be the best that's in your size, and then go from there and see how you stack up. So that's kind of a breakdown for this year's Varsity Boys Field of 64. We're really, really excited about all the games that are going to take place and all the big opportunities that everyone coming into nationals is going to have. We hope that some of you are going to lose some sleep over your opening round opponents, because you should be nervous. You shouldn't take anything for granted, and the minute you do, at that point, you're probably already beat. So we hope that everyone takes it serious and that everyone plays at their absolute best at nationals, because I think if that happens, we'll have the best national championships we've ever had. I'm Rob Flatt. Thanks for tuning in to this year's National Christian Homeschool Basketball Championships Field of 64 selection show. We can't wait to see you in Springfield. Safe travels. See you soon.